This is addiction language for someone, for a beneficiary who has a known addiction problem, right? Whether it be gambling, drugs, alcohol. I've got provisions that are even much more in depth than this, that I've used for, parents sometimes come in with an absolute fear that if they die and leave an equal share to a particular child without really clear provisions, they'll essentially kill their child with the money they leave behind, because unfettered access to money means unfettered access to, drug of choice. So, before I delve into the language, and I'm not going to read all this, it's up on the screen and you do have the handout. But I do want to just point out, particularly, I suppose, to the planners and the people administering trusts in the audience, that drug addiction is a serious issue. There was a research, I think it was Pew Research Center in 2017, found that 46% in the US have a close friend or family member who has been addicted to drugs, 46%. And that was back in 2017, before this huge bloom of opioid issues and pandemic-related drug issues. So more recently, the Gallup poll in 2021, so sort of midway through the pandemic, found that 32% of Americans have drug addiction issues in their home. So that's a third of Americans have addiction issues in their home where they live. That's astonishing to me. I don't know if that's past, present, or if that's all time, but it's a pretty big number. And then last statistic I'll scare you with is that when I started practicing, the state bar said that about 25% of lawyers had addiction issues, drugs or alcohol, during the course of their career. And now that number, an article just came out from the bar. Their study indicates that it's more than a third now. So it's gone from 25 to 33 or 34%. And that's in 20 years. So a huge increase. And I say these things not to depress everybody, but just to say, if you really are going to be counseling clients during this drafting process, or if you're counseling a trustee during the administration process even, you need to create the space in these conversations for them to share without shame that these are issues for their family. Because I'll tell you that even though I think I do a good job of inviting these conversations, by trying to be open and non-judgmental and whatnot, I'm not getting 33% of people saying, my son so-and-so is an addict. So I really do think we at least need to create the space for them to share that. Ultimately, you can lead a horse to water. If they're not going to share it, they're not going to share it. But we really do need to be conscientious in our conversations about whether this is a problem. So I have a great story, which is I had a woman who came in, and I swear half of her trust, she had one son, only son. Half of her trust dealt with addiction. She had a mid-sized estate. And of course, at the time she drafted it 13 years prior, I'd met her, later. Her son was a full-blown addict, and she didn't think he would live, to see his 30th birthday. She came in 13 years later to see me and said, look, I have all of this language in here, which was really just designed to make sure I didn't kill my son, and to hopefully help him, and offer a helping hand through my trust, by having provisions for drug treatment and which treatment she wanted, which treatment she didn't, based on her experience and what was working for him. And she came in to amend her trust. In fact, she didn't just do a restatement, she did an entirely new trust. And she opted to do that and to sort of, erase the chain of title, so to speak, because she never wanted her son to see that, and feel sort of the shame of that time, or that his mom didn't trust him. She wanted, because he had been clean and sober for more than 12 years, she wanted all of that to sort of be erased from her documents, so that he didn't have to read it and kind of relive those days. So it is great to see when people do come out on the other end. But she had excellent language to just make sure, again, she was doing everything she could with her money to help keep offering a helping hand, even if it was well past the date of her death.